Hi, welcome to Keto with JT. I'm JT. I'm a certified keto and intermittent fasting coach, and today we're going to review these protein chips from Quest Nutrition. We're going to go through 5 categories. Are they keto, the quality of ingredients, the availability, the cost, and the taste? And before we get into that, to be fair, I had to look at this package and tell you I don't see anywhere on here where they're claiming that it's keto. So I don't think that they're advertising as keto. At least I can't see that anywhere. But I saw them the other day and I kind of wanted to know, well, could we consider this on a ketogenic diet? There are a couple of things that I do see that I think are pretty cool. No added soy ingredients. That's awesome. Baked, never fried, and gluten-free. And that's pretty cool. So when we're trying to determine whether or not something is keto, the general guideline, the baseline that we want to start with is it 50 net carbs or less? That's what we start with. I know that's very, very broad, but there's a couple other things we also need to consider. That one of those is what is your carb number? So how low do you need to go to get into ketosis? Some people think they can get into ketosis at 50 net carbs or even a little bit more than that. But most people need to go just a little bit below that. Some can need to go to 40, 30, 20, or even lower than that. So you kind of need to know where you are on that spectrum. The other thing we need to remember is that we're talking about total carbs throughout the entire day, total net carbs throughout the entire day, not in just one meal. So if you're new to keto, that's an important distinction. Now, when I'm looking for something and I'm trying to determine whether or not it's keto, my goal, or what I'm hoping for, what I'm targeting, is I'd like it to be about 4 net carbs or less per serving. Give or take, it could be 5, even 6, but somewhere in that realm is where I want to be in order to consider it. So right away we see total carbohydrate 5 grams. Okay, well, a serving size is 1 bag, but you have to understand they're not talking about this bag, this entire bag. There are little individual bags contained here, and 1 serving size is about 140 calories and 5 total net carbs. So there's 1 gram of dietary fiber, 1 gram of total sugars, and 18 grams of protein. That's pretty awesome. Well, they do call them protein chips, right? So from that perspective, the low sugar, the low carbs, it's 4 net carbs per serving. From that perspective, we can say, yay, these are keto. So you can consider these on a ketogenic lifestyle. Okay, so now that we've determined that, we want to look at the ingredients. I want to know, is it keto, but I also want to know, is it a healthy choice? So let's take a look there. All right, so we look at the ingredients, and the first thing we see is their protein blend. And yeah, well, they're protein chips, so it makes sense that we start with the protein blend. And it is comprised of milk protein isolate, whey protein isolate. Now, if you're getting a protein powder of some kind, you want to make sure that it's isolate, not concentrate. With the concentrate, there's still some sugars and stuff like that in there. With isolate, they've kind of taken some of that stuff out and left just the protein. So that's what we want to look for. And the next on our list here is high oleic sunflower oil, calcium caseinate, natural flavors, cornstarch, soluble corn fiber, psyllium husk, and it contains less than 2% of the following: salt, cheddar cheese powder, and then they say what's in the cheddar cheese powder in parentheses: cultured milk, salt, enzymes, Romano cheese, and then parentheses what the Romano cheese is made of: milk, cultures, salt, enzymes. Okay, and then buttermilk powder, butter, and they say what's in the butter: cream and annatto, tomato powder, onion powder, spice, I don't know what kind of spice they're talking about, but some sort of spice, non-fat dry milk, whey protein, chia seed, paprika extract for color, turmeric oleoresin for color, sunflower lecithin, calcium carbonate, yeast extract, and stevia sweetener. Okay, so there are a couple of yellow flags I want to point out to you. Okay, we've mentioned whey protein isolate and whey protein or milk protein isolate, whey protein isolate. If you have issues with milk, even though an isolate version of that protein will be better, it's still not going to be the best option. So if you have issues with dairy, you may want to take that into consideration and think about avoiding these. The next thing I want to draw your attention to is the high oleic sunflower oil. High oleic sunflower oil is better than regular sunflower oil. As a general rule of thumb, I try to avoid sunflower oil. It's high in omega-6s, and omega-6s can be inflammatory. The problem is that we get way too much of it in our diet. We should have a much lower ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s. It can go rancid very easily. That can cause other problems. High oleic sunflower oil is the ratios of oleic acid to linoleic acid. Linoleic is the omega-6 and oleic is an omega-9, and you find that in olive oil. This is a little bit different, but the ratio is a little bit better, but it's still very high in linoleic acid omega-6s. So it's something to keep in mind. Likely very small amounts in here, probably not enough to be too concerned, but it's something that we need to draw to our attention. Okay, the next thing is natural flavors. Natural flavors is always going to be a yellow flag. Some people will call it a red flag. And that might sound strange because it sounds really good, right? Natural flavors. A lot of people skip right past that and thinking, oh, that's a really good ingredient, natural flavors. That's not necessarily the case. It's not regulated. They don't have to tell you what's in there, what makes up the natural flavors. And generally they start with something natural, pull a little flavor from that, and then they adjust it, change it, enhance it. And what they're doing is trying to make it taste better, and they're enhancing it, the texture, and that's what it's used for. But a lot of times what can go into there is maltodextrin, which you don't want. Any sort of dextrin can find its way into natural flavors, and then they don't have to list it. So I'm not saying that that's the case here. All I am saying is we need to be aware of it. For me, I look at the context of all the ingredients, and if all the other ingredients are pretty good, then I don't worry about natural flavors. That's just how I look at it. Okay, the next one is cornstarch. Okay, so cornstarch. Generally, when you're doing keto, you want to avoid cornstarch altogether. It's too high in carbohydrates, right? But in this case, now in the context of everything that we're looking at here, no, it's not the best ingredient. However, the amount of it is probably very minimal compared to the fact that there's only 4 net carbs in each serving. So we probably don't have to worry about it too much, but if you are trying really hard to avoid cornstarch, you gotta keep that in mind. Next thing is soluble corn fiber. Technically speaking, it is a fiber. Biologically speaking, or molecularly speaking, it is a fiber. And for the most part, it's not going to kick you out of ketosis, though I am hearing that some people have reported that they're having gut issues, and it has shown to kick them out of ketosis. From what I understand, it's a very small number of people. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is going to be GMO. So if you're trying to be non-GMO, this has soluble corn fiber, which is GMO, unless it states, non-GMO soluble corn fiber, or it says on here somewhere that 100% of all the ingredients are non-GMO. It doesn't say that. So we can rightly conclude that this soluble corn fiber is GMO. If that's something that you're concerned about, then you may want to avoid these. The other thing too is that down the list they mention whey protein again. Okay, so we have our whey protein blend at the top, right? Or our protein blend at the top, which is milk protein isolate and whey protein isolate. Remember we said we want an isolate, not a concentrate? Down below it says whey protein or whey powder. So that's likely going to be whey concentrate, which we don't want. But again, it's probably a small enough amount that it's not going to matter too much. The issue is that small amounts add up over time. So the other thing you have to take in consideration is how much of these are you going to eat and how often are you going to eat them. If it's going to be very minimal, then you probably don't need to worry. With that in mind and all those things to consider, I look at the good, better, best principle. If something is good, what's better, and what would be best? The best thing would be to avoid these altogether. Just stick to a whole foods only diet and avoid these altogether. Now, what's better, and what I mean by better is this better than most other chip options? Absolutely. Is it good? Yeah, it's pretty good. I would say it's pretty good. Again, we want to limit our consumption. So as far as ingredients are concerned, I'd probably give it a 3, right? It could be better, it could be worse. Let's get to availability. Now, I found this at Walmart. You can also get it at Albertsons. You can get it at the Vitamin Shop, GNC, Target, and online you can find it at Amazon, their website, VitaCost, and then I also was surprised to see you could find it at Staples and Office Depot, which was a little bit strange to me. So it is pretty available. So I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 5. How about the cost? Well, I got this at Walmart. Again, it was $9.88. And that's for a 4-bag container. Now the prices will vary in your area, but I found it as low as $9.88 at Walmart. And then on their website, you can get an 8-pack. So by the way, that price at Walmart brings it to about $2.47 per bag, per serving inside here, right? Their website sells an 8-pack version for $22.99, and that leaves the per bag cost of $2.87. So just a little bit more than you'll find it at Walmart. And then at the top of the most expensive list, they're the winners. The winners is Staples. At Staples, you can find that 8-pack version, not this 4-pack version, but they have it there for, ready? $41.49, which brings the per bag cost or the per pack cost to $5.18. So $5.18 for one of the little bags that's in here. We'll look at those in a minute, as compared to $2.47 at Walmart. Moral of the story: don't buy your food at a office supply store. First I thought, that's way too expensive, $2.47 for a little bag of chips. Of course I think everything's expensive, and everything is getting more and more expensive these days, right? At the same time, they're marketing this as a protein chip, and there are 18 grams of protein in one serving. If you compare it to like most of the protein bars that are out there, you're gonna find an average price of somewhere around that same $2.57 sort of mark. So from that perspective, I could go give them a little better score on price if we're looking at it from a protein option. If you're looking at it from a like a supplement or health food option, if we're getting more protein, but I'd still give it like a 3.5 out of 5. So how about the taste? Well, this is my favorite part of these videos. I'm going to go ahead and they say to tear it right here. Okay, here we go. That actually did work. So here is one of these little bags, right? It actually looks like a bag of chips that you would normally see, right? A regular old bag of chips. Let's open that up. Now I have to tell you, there are a lot of, if you go on their website, there's a lot of different flavors, and that's pretty cool, right? And I got this one because it reminded me of Doritos. I really like Doritos. I haven't had them, much at all in the last 4 years. I will confess I've had a couple, but for the most part, the last 4 years, I just don't eat them anymore for obvious reasons. But when I saw these, I thought, oh. So the problem is I'm thinking about Doritos, and I'm gonna try hard not to compare these to Doritos, but let's see. They're actually pretty good. These are pretty good. So, as with most bags of chips, the chips are right down here. This is a lot of air, right? But definitely not. These are pretty good. These are really good, actually. Wow. Definitely not Doritos. But given that Doritos just really aren't good for you, and these are better, occasionally, this would be okay. Occasionally, I could eat these and be pretty happy with that. Wow. All right, well, if you are considering Quest protein chips and you're trying to decide whether or not you should try them, I hope this video has been helpful. Hit the like button, if you will. That would be awesome. And remember to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Oh yeah. These are pretty good.